and welcome to my design breakdown video for Adventure Chef, which was my Search for a Star 2024 entry into games design. Now, just a preamble before we get into it. The brief for the competition this year was to take two elements of gameplay that aren't often seen together and combining them into something unique. So they gave a few examples. The one that I came up with was combining the idea of platformer games, so old kind of 2D platformer games, and cooking simulators. During my research, I didn't find any combining elements for those two. Nothing came up. So I thought it was very unique if I can't find anything at all about it. So I thought it was a great thing to kind of experiment with and see what I can come up with. Now, kind of a bit more preamble. The kind of initial idea for the game was there were two kind of important design pillars that I wanted to lean on, which I felt were probably some of the more amorphic ideas that you could blend that are key to both platformers and to cooking simulators. And the first one was exploration. When you're playing a platformer game, there is a lot of exploration, and because of that, you want to go in and you want to kind of, oh, what happens if I jump over here? What happens if I try and run through this wall? Just thinking of kind of like those old 2D platformers and the ideas that they have of like, not everything is as it seems. And the other pillar was against the clock. Now, obviously, with cooking in particular, and cooking simulators, everything is kind of timed and everything is to a limit, and you have to try and get as much done as possible within the time limit, or else. And that's really what the focus was for this game. I wanted you to be able to have both those cooking simulator features and also have the platforming features as well. So I thought those design pillars were probably the best ones to work with because they kind of boil down what I wanted to get out of them both into something quite usable. So if we jump into the game, I'll give you kind of the rundown of the notion of it all. So we jump into the kitchen. First of all, your adventure chef. So your kitchen is in the middle of the woods, which is swarming with beasties and monsters and all kind of fantastical creatures and adventurers as well. Heroes who spend their days taking on these beasts or saving the world. And as this wizard here says, saving the realm is tiring. I'd love something to eat with tomatoes. So the basic premise of the game that this kind of set up here is these adventurers come in from their hard day of working out, protecting the realm, and they're starving and they want you to cook for them. So your restaurant in the middle of the woods is perfectly placed for that. So now if we run through, so you have the idea that this guy wants something with tomatoes. So we enter into the platform stage of the world. Now this is a very 2D platformer. You see here, you wanted something with tomatoes, so we've got a tomato here. Now if we jump across here, now I wanted every kind of platform to kind of lead to the next point. So as you can see, oops, apologies. As you can see, there are parts here which highlight themselves as you move forward. So from this kind of start point here, that tomato was up in the top right there. So you know that is a direction that you can go. And you also see this moving yellow platform up here. So you see that, and this is the explorative stage. Now we've run out of time here, but we did collect a couple of ingredients, but that means we can go back through in a little moment and kind of explore a little bit further. But the idea generally was that there were little droplets, almost like breadcrumb trails or something, that would notify the player of like, hey, you can come up here, and then if you come up here you'll see something interesting and maybe you can explore that a little further. So we go back to the kitchen. So it says Use the mouse wheel to move the spoon. Catch the dirt with the spoon. So there's dirt coming in there. We catch it with the spoon. If we don't, it lowers the quality of the soup. And we let the fresh ingredients in. That raises the quality of the soup. Now, obviously, if we're padding this out into a full game, this is incredible. What a delicious flavoured soup. Yum, 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 yum. If I were padding this out into a fully fledged game, then, you know, the higher the quality of the soup, the more money that the customer would give you, or they'd leave you a bigger tip, or they'd give you some advice, or they'd leave you a gift or something. And the idea being that you unlock features that will enhance your overall play. So you can unlock, you know, additional ingredients, or you can unlock additional cooking methods, or you can unlock something that's going to help you improve the quality overall, or, you know, you get new recipes, and then you can create something that's worth more to particular customers, and, you know, you can combine them in several different ways, and then you have different cooking methods and stuff like that. So I thought, as a quick kind of loop for gameplay, I felt it covered quite a lot. I felt it was quite helpful in that aspect, and I felt like it was giving a good kind of example of the core gameplay loop. So if we just pop back into the platform level. Yes, so we're back in here now, and we can go back to these areas and we can explore a little bit further. So we'll jump up here. We have this large, what would be a tree if we were using assets. You have to come over this tree. Now I've just jumped into the ether, which players wouldn't necessarily know to do, but they can see when they're on that ledge. There's a tomato here, and this pot coming down here. So you could drop down here. You have another element here. So that's that fully explored. Yes, I really wanted to give the players a lot to explore, like a benefit to exploring. You know, the more they kind of get out there, the more ingredients they can get, the more potential secrets they could find as well throughout the level. I feel like that's quite an important thing to feature in the platforming element and that gameplay design pillar of exploration, giving players the opportunity to explore a little further. And, you know, again, if this was being developed into something else rather than just a prototype of the design, then I would do things like I'll create a couple of different levels, you know, I'll create different platform spaces. I would also have different customers who are wanting different things. I would also have different cooking mini games, you know, different varieties of them, and they're all listed in a design document that has kind of a few examples of everything. You know, later on in the game, maybe you can have things like, I'm allergic to this, so you have to substitute it out, and who knows what kind of crazy recipe concoctions you can come up with then. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of come in and kind of explain why I did certain things and showcase what I did. This project, I believe, I mean, for the Search for a Star submission, it took me around a week and a half to complete. So that's working time of probably around 30-40 hours. And then to the state that it's at the moment, because there is a little bit more of an extension on here, I believe I spent another 2 weeks on this and got it to the level that it's at now. And I'm not 100% happy with everything that I've got. There are a few elements that I wish if I had maybe a little bit more time. Obviously, I wanted to move on to different projects as well. But I also, you know, once the deadline for the competition was over, it was kind of, I did everything I could for that level of competition. So I think it was not totally worthwhile spending too much time developing it much further. Kind of once that initial gameplay loop is there, I felt like that was all it needed to be. Like everything was highlighted in terms of prototyping everything that I wanted to showcase. But yeah, if it was, I'd maybe expand it a little further, or maybe have a few kind of more moving elements on the platforming stage, or maybe an additional mini game, or you know, extend that into something else, just have it a little bit extra for it. But overall, I'm very happy with it. In terms of the amount of time it took and the level of detail that I managed to get out of it. It's my first time working with Paper 2D in Unreal Engine 5. So there was a big learning curve for me there as well. But yeah, overall, thoroughly enjoyed the project. And yeah, I just onwards and upwards from here. But yeah, thank you for listening to my design breakdown. I'll speak to you soon.